Okay, let's dive in. We're tackling a topic today that's, well, honestly, it's way more common than most of us think. Animal hermaphroditism.
It really is. And the sheer scale is kind of mind-blowing when you first hear it.
Right. The statistic that caught me was out of about 500,000 non-insect animal species we know, roughly a third are hermaphrodites. Hundreds of thousands.
Yeah, a huge number. And the main reason you, the listener, might think, well, I don't see that, is pretty simple.
It's not the animals we hang out with most.
Exactly. It just doesn't really happen in birds or mammals, which are, our usual reference points. But outside that small group, flexibility is often the name of the game.
So our mission today is to get our heads around the evolutionary advantages here. We're talking about true hermaphrodites, meaning an individual animal that can produce both male and female sex cells.
The big question is why? Why carry the biological equipment for both sexes? It sounds incredibly inefficient.
It does, and we're going to break it down into two main strategies we see in nature. First up is simultaneous hermaphroditism.
Right. That means having both sets of reproductive organs and producing both sperm and eggs all at the same time, ready to go either way, so to speak.
And the second strategy.
That's sequential hermaphroditism. This is where an animal starts its life as one sex, and then later on it actually changes into the other sex.
Okay, this reminds me instantly of Jurassic Park. Maybe a bit fanciful there, but that core idea.
Absolutely. That the dinosaurs, all born female in the movie, could switch because of that frog DNA they use. It highlights how powerful that sequential change can be, like a biological backup plan.
Let's start with the simultaneous ones, the double life strategy. You mentioned this is pretty standard for many invertebrates.
Oh yeah, very common. Think mollusks, so snails and slugs, flatworms, segmented worms like earthworms. Basically, any individual they meet could potentially be a mate.
Which sounds efficient, but then you look at how they actually court each other, and it gets intense, like banana slugs.
It does get intense, and often really elaborate. With slugs and snails, you see these long courtship rituals, hours sometimes.
Doing what exactly?
Well, there's tail swiping, nipping each other, lunging motions. They even eat each other's slime trail. It's all part of this buildup.
Eating slime. Okay. And they create a nuptial bed.
Yeah, sort of shared slime patch. Then they line up, side by side usually, to exchange sperm. Some aquatic snails, their anatomy is set up so they can actually form this kind of, well, circle of love to mate.
A circle of love. That sounds almost peaceful, but then you get to the common garden snail, and things take a dark turn with the love dart.
Ah, yes. The love dart. It sounds romantic, doesn't it?
It really doesn't. Why are they stacking their partner right when things are getting intimate? Seems counterproductive.
It seems that way to us, but it's pure evolutionary strategy. The dart is this sharp, calcified little spear coated in mucus.
And they just jab it in.
They do. And it's not just a physical jab. That dart delivers a cocktail of hormones, basically. Chemicals designed to manipulate the partner's body.
Manipulate how?
To prevent the partner's system from attacking and destroying the sperm that's about to be delivered. It's aggressive chemical warfare to boost the stabber's chances of actually fertilizing eggs.
Wow. So if it works, both snails end up laying eggs?
If it's successful, yes. Both partners exchange sperm, and both can potentially lay fertilized eggs. It doubles the reproductive output of that encounter, in a way.
Okay, so the dart is sneaky manipulation. But flatworms, they take the aggression up another notch, right? With Subophorceros hincocanas?
They absolutely do. If snail love darts are manipulation, flatworm mating is often outright combat.
And they're fighting to avoid being the mother.
Exactly. For these flatworms, developing the eggs is extremely costly in terms of energy and resources. So when two meet, they often fight for the right to be the father.
Leaving the loser to carry the burden.
Precisely. The loser gets stuck with the metabolic cost of developing those eggs.
And the fighting technique is, well, it's infamous, penis fencing.
That's the term, yes. These worms usually have two penises each, often quite sharp, and they literally fence with them, trying to stab the other worm.
How long does this go on?
It can last quite a while, sometimes an hour or more. They're dueling, trying to land a decisive blow.
And the winner is the one who successfully stabs the other.
Yes. The winner manages to inject sperm into the loser. And crucially, this is traumatic insemination.
Traumatic meaning?
Meaning they aren't aiming for a specific reproductive opening. They often just stab through the body wall, injecting sperm directly into the loser's tissues. It's rough.
High-stakes biology right there. It really highlights the cost. If it's this costly for tiny invertebrates, imagine the energy drain for a larger animal, like a fish, To maintain both systems simultaneously.
And that's exactly why simultaneous hermaphroditism is so incredibly rare in vertebrates. Fish are basically the only group known to do it.
Really? Only fish?
Yeah, and even then, it's only found in about 15 genera across 10 families. Think of species like the geometric eel.
So why do they do it if it's so rare and costly?
It seems to be an adaptation for really challenging environments, like the deep sea, or maybe complex coral reefs, where finding any mate is difficult.
Ah, so if you finally bump into someone, you need to be able to mate, regardless of their sex or yours at that moment.
Exactly. The advantage of guaranteed mating outweighs the massive energy cost in those specific situations. It's the same reason something like two-thirds of coral species are also hermaphrodites. Finding a partner in the vast ocean isn't easy.
Okay, so having both sets of gear full-time is super expensive, which brings us neatly to the other strategy, sequential hermaphroditism, only paying for one set at a time.
Right. It's a much more common strategy, especially in fish. You only maintain the organs for one sex at any given point.
And the underlying evolutionary logic is what?
It usually comes down to size and reproductive success.
Hmm.
The core idea is that an individual might be more evolutionarily fit, meaning it can produce more successful offspring as one sex when it's small and more fit as the other sex when it gets large.
So it's about optimizing reproduction over the animal's entire lifespan.
Precisely. It's a way to maximize your contribution to the gene pool depending on your current size and social standing, and it's definitely more energy efficient than being simultaneous all the time.
Let's look at the two ways this happens. First, starting male and changing to female. That's protandry.
Correct. Male first. And the absolute classic example everyone knows, even if they don't realize it, is the clownfish.
Ah, Nemo.
Exactly. Though Disney skipped the more interesting biological sequel. Clownfish live in these very strict social hierarchies, usually centered around one sea anemone.
And there's a queen.
There is.
Right.
The largest fish in the group is always the breeding female. She lays all the eggs. Everyone else living in that anemone is male, and typically non-breeding, except for the largest male who pairs with her.
Okay, so what happens if tragedy strikes?
If the female dies, the hierarchy shifts instantly. The largest male, the one who is breeding with her, undergoes a rapid physiological change. He becomes the new breeding female.
Just like that.
Just like that, hormones shift, behavior changes, anatomy follows. And then the next largest male in the group moves up to become the new breeding male. It's all driven by social cues and size rank.
Fascinating. So the change can also go the other way, starting female and becoming male.
Yes, that's protogeny. Female first, male later. And the evolutionary pressures here are often quite different.
Okay, give us an example.
A great one is the bluehead wrasse. You find them on Caribbean coral reefs. They start life typically as smaller, less colorful fish, often yellowish or whitish. These are the initial phase females or sometimes small males.
And they live in groups.
They often live in groups, sometimes large spawning aggregations. But breeding is often dominated by a single, large, brightly colored terminal phase male.
The one with the blue head.
That's him. He gets the name. And these large males often defend territories and try to monopolize breeding with the females in that area.
So why does it pay off to be female when small and male when large in this case?
It's often about mating strategy and competition. When you're small, maybe you can't compete physically with the big dominant males. Your best bet is to be female and produce eggs relatively cheap to make individually.
But if you get big enough,
If you grow large enough, strong enough, you can potentially challenge and become that dominant male. And if you succeed, you might get to fertilize many females' eggs. So at that point, the bigger reproductive payoff comes from being male.
and they change their appearance too.
Dramatically. When a female transitions to that terminal male phase, she develops that vibrant blue head and often different body colors. It's a clear signal of the sex change and new social status.
The scale of this sequential strategy is pretty amazing, isn't it?
It really is. It's been documented in, over 500 species of fish alone, and it's evolved independently multiple times in different fish families. It just shows how effective this solution is when reproductive success is tied to size or social rank.
Biology just finds the most efficient way to get the job done, regardless of our neat little boxes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's all about maximizing fitness under specific ecological conditions. But it's not just internal pressures like size. Outside factors can play a role too.
Which leads us to amphibians. There have been reports going way back about common frogs changing sex.
Yeah, reports of male frogs, Rana temporaria, turning female date back to the 19th century. So there seems to be some natural flexibility there, though the exact natural triggers aren't always perfectly clear.
No, we have modern complications.
We do. There's growing research on how human-made chemicals might be interfering with these systems in the wild.
Hell jazz.
Well, certain common herbicides, like atrazine, have been shown in lab studies, particularly with the African clawed frog, to have some pretty drastic effects,
Like what?
like chemically castrating male frogs, essentially reducing their testosterone, and in some cases, it could even induce them to fully change sex and become functionally female.
Wow. So this isn't just a lab curiosity.
No, it's a real concern for wild populations.
Yeah.
It highlights how environmental pollutants could potentially disrupt the natural reproductive biology of amphibians and maybe other wildlife too. A very different scenario from the adaptive changes we see in wrasses or clownfish.
A really important area of ongoing research. Okay, before we wrap up, we need to address a classic misconception, the hyena.
Ah, yes, the hyena. For centuries, people thought they were hermaphrodites.
And you can sort of see why, visually speaking.
You can, because female spotted hyenas have this structure that looks remarkably like a penis. It's actually an enlarged clitoris and urogenital canal, often called a pseudopenis.
But they aren't true hermaphrodites.
That definitely not. They only produce one type of sex cell. Females produce eggs, males produce sperm, just like other mammals. That external structure in the female is, well, it's unique.
What's its function then, if not for dual sexuality?
It seems to be largely about female control and social signaling. Mating is physically difficult for the male unless the female is fully receptive and cooperative, essentially retracting the structure somewhat. It gives her significant control over copulation.
So the myth is well and truly busted. They're not hermaphrodites.
Myth busted. A fascinating case of convergent evolution leading to a confusing anatomy, but definitely not hermaphroditism.
Okay, so reflecting on all this, we've seen nature's reproductive toolkit is incredibly diverse. From the simultaneous strategy with its sometimes violent negotiations like love darts and penis fencing.
Right, driven by those intense energy costs.
To the precisely timed switches of the sequential hermaphrodites, like the clownfish becoming queen or the wrasse earning its blue head. The constant theme seems to be this trade-off between resources and reproductive success.
Exactly. And connecting back to that initial surprise, a third of animal species, it tells us that the optimal sex isn't always fixed. It can depend hugely on the environment, on your size, on social dynamics. Fitness drives the bus.
Which leaves us with a final thought to chew on. Think about the sheer biological investment needed for some animals to maintain this flexibility, this ability to change sex entirely.
The fact that evolution supports such a costly process tells you the survival or reproductive advantage must be absolutely enormous in their specific context.
So the question for you to ponder is, when we look at traits we consider completely fixed or normal, maybe even in ourselves, what unseen, powerful resource trade-offs might actually be shaping those traits, behaviors we haven't fully understood yet?
It's a fascinating lens to view biology through. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the wild world of hermaphroditism.